I made another rope bed before this one, and you can go back and look at that video to find out more of the history. And here's some with fretwork. It's pretty fancy. I really like this one. This one is even fancier, and it looks like it's made out of maple. But the one I'm making today is going to be quite a bit simpler. And as you can see, the template's very simple, no fretwork. However, the posts are going to be made out of crochet hooks. I bought 6 crochet hooks that were all the same. Well, they didn't end up being exactly the same, but I got them on sale, and they're made out of walnut. And I thought, well, this would be great. I don't have a way to turn wood, but I'd like something that had a little more variety in the turning. So I bought them, and I'm going to cut them down. After I get the headboard and the footboard too will be cut out afterwards, but I'll do the headboard first. And you can see this is a very simple pattern. This is going to be for the young man's bedroom. And so I just didn't want it to be really fancy. I wanted to keep it a little bit on the simpler side, and so that's why I chose to just make a very simple headboard this time. There really isn't much of a footboard with this one either, so you'll see. But it's not as decorative as the one I made before, and this one certainly isn't as decorative as the pictures that I just showed you. And I'm using 1/8 thickness balsa wood. And I'm using a very sharp blade. I try to change my blades frequently so that I can get cleaner cuts. And I'm using here 6 grit sandpaper, number 6. 600, I'm sorry. 600 grit. And I just want to give it a nice sand down the edges. And I'm going to line it up. And I want it to be about 4 or 4.5 inches in height for these 2 posts that are hooked to the headboard. So it looks like 4 inches will do it. Just a little more than 4 inches. And I'll mark it, and I'll just do the other one the same. Now these didn't all end up being exactly the same. They varied in color, and also in the turnings were varied. But that's okay. That would have been something you would have found in some of these more primitive pieces. And these were 5.5 millimeter crochet hooks. And I think I already mentioned this, but they're walnut. So it's a nice hardwood. Now I'm just going to get my little saw out, my little Japanese saw. And I'll just cut each one. These are a little bit different color, but the whole thing's going to be painted in the end anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'll be able to use those other ends for something else later on. I'll probably have to just cut the hook off and maybe make a stool or something out of them. And now I'm going to taper the ends down to the foot on each one. And I'll sand it with 600 grit sandpaper. I'm not going to try to get it incredibly smooth. I'm just going to make it look as smooth as I can, but not, not terribly polished looking. This is more of a primitive piece. I'm using a number 2 blade here to do the carving. And rope beds were used up until the 19th century, and followed through even to nearly the end of the 19th century. But beds with wooden slats in them started to appear around the Regency period, which is around the 1798, 1790, somewhere around there. But here in the colonies, these would have been the American colonies, in the early part of the 18th century, the rope bed was mainly what was used. And I'm just going to use some wood glue to attach these to the headboard. Now, the only thing I would do differently here is I used metal pins for the rest of the bed, except for the footboard and headboard that attached. And now this is still going to hold really well. You don't have to drill holes and put metal pins in it if you're not going to move the furniture around, and no child is going to play with it. But I probably should have made it a little sturdier, but it's fine. After it dried, it was fine. But when I make another bed sometime, I will put metal pins through the whole thing. And they're just pins. They're straight pins that I cut. And I drill holes, and then I put it into the wood. But you'll see me do it later for the sides of the bed. And this is going to be for the footboard, and it's going to be shorter, of course, and that's about 3 inches. I was trying to use my micro saw on this to see if it would cut a little faster, but the blade was a little too flimsy, so I went back to the Japanese saw. And the pieces that I'm not using, I'll save. I can probably make something out of them, like a bench. So I'll see what I can do with those later. So you can see the crochet hook on the end. They're really not that great for crocheting. They're kind of, I don't know, difficult to use. So I did try to use them when I bought them, and I realized, boy, these, no wonder they're on sale. They look pretty, but they're difficult to crochet with. So I'm just going to narrow these down to the feet, and then I'll sand these too. I have this film speeded up as usual, so it doesn't take forever. Hopefully it's not too fast. But you know, if you want to look at something, you can always stop the film. And that's the nice thing about YouTube. It's not like watching television. Okay. Just make sure it's all pretty much the same, and I'm going to sand these. I think the turnings look quite pretty, and I think I'll have a little bit more variety now in my doll furniture. Now I'm going to cut some more wood here. And the footboard's not going to be fancy. It's just going to be another piece of wood, just like I'm going to put on the sides. And there'll be another board underneath the headboard. And this is what the ropes will be attached to. And again, I'm just using 1/8 inch balsa wood. And this is 6.5 inches. for the sides. It's 3/4 of an inch width as well. And that's for the headboard and the footboard, the smaller pieces, and I'll have to cut those to fit. And I just eyeballed it, and I'll do that, just use that other one as the same length for the footboard. So it really doesn't have a footboard per se, it just has a headboard. But that one single board will be at the foot of the bed with the 2 short pieces. And I'll glue those on. I just had to decide where to put them, and I measured that. And I'll let those dry. Oops, they fell apart. Got to do it again. Have to create that suction with the glue, otherwise it won't bond. So I had to go back and put more glue on it. And then that one will get put underneath, but there'll be a space under that. So I just have to decide where to put it because they have to be the same height. So I'm lining them up on the cutting board, figure out where that is. Fortunately, there's still enough glue on there where okay, that's in place. Now I'm just going to add a little more glue to the ends just to make sure that they stick. And any excess glue will be, well, see? That's pretty frustrating. I needed to plan that a little bit better. It still doesn't look right. Close enough. I don't obsess about things. I just try to get it done. I figure I can always sand the feet if I have to. Okay, those are dry now. Now what I would have done differently is I would have put metal pins in to the headboard and the footboard. But I will do it with these side pieces. Now I already measured out those holes for where it's going to have the ropes threaded through. And I'm just going to drill right through. And you saw what I just did. I just marked them. And I'm just taking a drill and going right through. Looks like I'm doing it awfully fast. And I'm just going to drill through these to get the other holes, just to make sure they're lined up. Make sure it's a clean hole. And I'll do the same for the sides. So those are dry and the holes are in. Now I have to think about what to do with the sides. Okay, those holes are drilled. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put metal pins in. I cut out all the hole drilling because, well, you can see. I just measured for them evenly spaced. And I'm cutting pins, putting them right into the balsa wood. These are straight pins, a little on the heavy side. Cut the heads off, cut them in half. And I'm just putting the pins in right there. You can see where I drilled the holes. And now I'm just going to line these up and mark where the metal pins are going to be drilled, holes for the metal pins. This is a white magic marker. Sometimes it doesn't work real well, but it's working okay today. And then you have to take an awl or a nail or a pin or something and actually poke a hole first because it's really hard to just drill on the wood. It's very hard wood. So I got an awl and I'm just putting a hole in there so I can stick the drill right into that little hole that I made with the awl. And I'm just going to drill a hole. And just be careful not to go all the way through. And then I'll glue that piece. Put a generous amount of wood glue on that. And stick it right in. There. And I'm going to do that for each side. Just put those pins right in. That one wouldn't go in for some reason. I had to use the metal part of my tweezers to push it. Okay, and I'm going to drill holes the same way for the foot. Just line it up. Put the holes right in the middle. Get my awl out and punch a bit of a hole in there. And then the drill. And I have quite a few drills. I just picked out the drills that were the right size for the pins. And again, just painting on the wood glue. Good, a generous amount again. And I'm just going to push it in there. Does make it sturdier. And when you're tying that rope in, there's one of the pins. That still has a bit of the head on it, but that'll be cut off. I had several pins on the board there, but you didn't see. I had already cut the head off of it, so just going to make sure that sits properly. And now I'm going to measure the sides over here. Line it all up. Gets a little trickier at this point because you have to kind of work your way in there without knocking the bed apart. You can see this is a fairly simple way to do this. It's, as I said, it would have been better if I'd put those pins in the headboard too, but I didn't do that. Next time. I just simply didn't think about it. But it is holding together just fine, as I said before. More pins. And this will be the last side for that, and then I'll straighten the bed out. Just measuring the holes against the pins. Okay, that's all done and glued. And now I just have to wait for it to dry. One of the pins got pushed all the way through the balsa wood, and that one slat kind of went wonky, but I glued it, and there's at least one pin in there that's going to hold it together once it's dry. Now it's dry, and I'm going to sand all over again, especially around those holes that I drilled. And sand away some of the other marks that I made on the other side where I started marking it and I changed my mind about the direction, placement of the holes. Just make sure it's nice and smooth. Looks pretty good. I'm just going to use the diamond rasp just to make sure there's no rough pieces hanging around. If there's any glue, I can just file that off. Any glue that oozed out. Just take care of that right now. And this does a good job of that, so. And I have another diamond rasp that's round, and I'm going to make sure those holes are all the way through, and there's no pieces of wood that are frayed that'll impede my ability to lace the rope through. But I'll have to do this several times because when you paint, you have to do it each time you paint too, because the holes get filled with paint. Just going to brush it off with a brush just to make sure all the dust is gone. Okay, I'm just going to use apple barrel and a few other things with it, some wood glue. Actually, I didn't put the wood glue in. I don't think I did that with this first one, so it's just apple barrel paint. And that's raw umber, actually. It looks a little lighter than raw umber. It's just because of the lighting. And I'll just give it the once over. And then when I'm done painting it this first coat, I'll let it dry. And I will give it another coat of paint with some different colors added to it. I'm just taking a toothpick now and just going through and making sure the paint is not globbed in the hole too much while it's still wet. So I'm painting everything. And that will cover where I carve those legs too, and make up for the fact that the wood is not evenly colored. Some of the poles were darker than others, so crochet hooks. I'm getting out of camera. But I'm sure you can understand that I'm just painting it, so. And I'm trying to put as thin a coat of paint on this as possible for the first coat. And then I'll go back and sand it when it's completely dry. And you can start to see what the bed's going to look like now. Okay. Just go back through and get those holes poked out with the toothpick. It's actually a bamboo skewer that I'm using now. And I do this each time I paint because it just is going to make it easier in the end. This paint can get kind of hard when it dries, so I don't want to have to struggle with it, re-drill the hole. And I just go over and sand everything again. I'm still using 600 grit paper. The final sanding, I'll use 400 grit. Just brush it off. And now I'm going to put another coat on, and I'm going to use burnt sienna, the rest of it. I'm going to put some wood glue into it. And I'm going to put some walnut glaze in it, walnut colored glaze, gel stain. I don't put that much in, but it does darken it a bit and it'll richen the color up. And I'm going to put some purple in. It's a violet color, it's a dark violet, and that will make it look more like mahogany or walnut. Just mix it in completely. And I'll give it the once over with this. Make sure I get all the places that I sanded off. The brushes that I use for this sort of thing they're just the really cheap brushes I buy at the dollar store. And they're soft though, and they're flat. And now it's dry. I did sand it a little bit, I just didn't include it. I just gave it a quick sanding with the 400 grit here and there. And now I'm putting on the matte Mod Podge. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Mod Podge is very forgiving. It shrinks quite a bit, so it looks gloppy, but it won't dry gloppy, unless you're really laying it on. And I'm actually putting it on fairly light. And just go in and brush it out with a couple of different types of brushes here, some little drier brush, a little different size, and then I'll have to go through those holes again, make sure they're not plugged up. So you can see this bed doesn't really have a footboard on it. It just has a headboard, and then it has the base of the bed where the ropes get tied. And although this is the matte finish, it really isn't matte. I mean, it really is more of a satin finish. It does have a little bit of a glossy texture to it, so. Okay, that's dry. And I'm actually using a synthetic yarn here, and I waxed it with beeswax very heavily and gave it a bit of a measure. And I'm just going out right now, just pull it out to see how much I need. And I'll cut that off after I wax it. And I wax it very well. And it looks like rope when it's done. The other bed that I made, I actually did use a kind of jute rope. But I decided to try this time to see if it was a little bit easier, and it is a little easier to handle. And it's just a lightweight yarn, synthetic, that I had hanging around, and it isn't quite as heavy as the other rope that I used. And it looks like rope. It's the same color as rope, so. I just keep waxing the ends so that I can stick it through. And it can be tightened. After you do a few of these, you can start tightening them. And I still have to make the bed rope tightener, which is a device that I showed in my last bed video. And I'm going to make one of those along with a mirror with fretwork on it, a couple of mirrors. But I think my next video is going to be the dresser for this young man's room. Okay, now I'm going to go the other way. I already pre-measured it, so I'm just having to go in and make sure the holes are, every now and then I must have forgotten to do a hole, so I have to go back in and poke that skewer through again. And I'm tightening it as I go along. And this gets woven. You go under, over, under, over, under, over. And of course the first pass you don't have to do that. It's just the second pass, of course. And one more. Under, over, and the opposite from the one before. It's just like simple weaving. Then I'm going to tie a knot and just cut the knot off. And there it is. It's done. Hooray. Snip, snip. I glued it to, they wouldn't have done that, but I'm doing it. Typically, they would wrap it around the leg and tie it, and then tighten it as they went. But since I don't have to do that, I'm not going to. So there it is. It's finished. And I really like the way those crochet hook turned ends look. I think it gives it some character. I'm going to see if I can find more of those on sale somewhere. Well, thank you for watching. That's all I have for today. And if you haven't liked and subscribed or made a comment in a while, please do. I would appreciate it. It keeps me going. And I do enjoy doing this. So I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.